and they had another portion to that, and it's called immediate apprehension. There are other names for intuition. One of them is sixth sense. In fact, there was a movie by Bruce Willis that's pretty well known that is called Sixth Sense. Unfortunately, it also sets up a fear factor. And the purpose of intuition is not for you to be afraid. So I do absolutely want you to get rid of any notion that anything to do with intuition is meant to scare you. So sixth sense is what you can sometimes hear as what is known as intuition. The next is gut instinct. You automatically know in your gut that there is something wrong, something right, something great, something awful that's going to happen. And this is also in keeping with the third one called gut feeling. Gut feeling has exactly the same type of reaction. And the fourth one that is more related to animals is just pure instinct. That's how they operate. And but yet that comes out in you that there's a knowing that you are to do or not to do, to stay away from, to go somewhere, not to go somewhere, whatever it is that it's relating to. Some people might simply go with the words funny feeling, and that I just had this funny feeling that I should do, shouldn't do. I can't tell you how many times that word came up when people talk about having missed a flight, and then they were the ones who survived because the plane crashed, or they didn't go to the World Trade Center the day that the World Trade Centers were hit. So it's always it's always there. It's always part of you. The next word that people use in relation to this is called hunch. I just had a hunch I needed to do this or not to do it. And I have one final word that I use. It's called DC to G, direct connect to God. And the reason it's called a direct connect to God is because I know instinctively that this is the way that God speaks to you, through your feelings and through all these methods that I just talked about. So effectively, a DC to G, the direct connect to God, is what you have to pay attention to. Now, your intuitive guidance is going to play a lot in your life if you pay attention to it. You can ignore it. You're a creature of free will. It doesn't matter how hard Spirit tries to reach you. It doesn't matter what your guides are trying to tell you, what God is trying to tell you. You absolutely can ignore every single thing that is given to you, whether it's a feeling, whether it's a vision, whether it's a sense of, you can ignore it. However, the way this unfolds in your life is that you may see colors first, especially when you're doing a healing on somebody else, or you're practicing to increase your intuition. You may go and see that in your field of vision, there are certain colors. All the colors have meaning. All the colors are related to certain chakras. And I will be doing a uh, Facebook Live on chakras, but I am having drawings done so that you get a visual representation of what I'm talking about, and without me just talking about it. But if you look to the right of me, which is on basically my left hand side, but the right hand side of your screen, you will actually see a column of chakra colors, and those are the representation of the chakras from number 2 to number 7. The only one that's not visible is the root chakra, which is the first one. Like I said, I will cover that at a later time. Then, what happens to you as you work with what you're given and as you trust what you're given, the next thing that's going to happen is that you're going to start seeing pictures. And the pictures can be very subtle, or they can be very bold and very descriptive. So effectively, you have a wonderful way of now explaining to somebody as you're offering healing to them that this picture came in, and what does it mean to them, if anything, and hopefully it does. Then the pictures might start turning into scenes, so that you're not only getting a picture, an isolated picture of something, you're actually witnessing a scene. And I know when I first started giving past life readings, when to my daughter's friends, as I listened to what they had to say to me, all I did was ask them to give me one sentence that was important to them. And as I listened to that sentence, I actually saw an entire scene, like a movie screen, open up in my third eye, in my field of vision, and I then related it to them. And in every single case, it was a past life. But interestingly enough, it was a past life that was influencing this lifetime. And that seems to be my special gift, is to get a past life for my clients that constantly has something to do, has some bearing on what this lifetime, what is happening in this lifetime. Then the next step that you might advance to is hearing sounds. This is effectively voices. The voices are not meant to scare you, but again, they are meant to educate you. They're meant to enlighten you. They're meant to raise your consciousness. I know in the 90s, when I first started to channel my guides, I recognized that every single time that they woke me up, it was with messages of God streaming through my head. And those messages would not stop until I came down to the computer, turned it on, took down the message, and typically 2 hours later, the messages would stop. The only thing that I wasn't crazy about, but I couldn't control, was that most of the time these messages came in between 2 and 4 a.m. How I managed to live my life, get through with as little sleep as I did, because at 6 a.m. I had to get up to take my 2 teenagers, get them off to school. And so that was incredibly difficult. But somehow I always tell my clients too that if God demands something of you, if He asks something of you, if you're meant to do something, you will be given the strength to do it. It's as simple as that. So I was given the energy I needed to get up, take down messages, and then go back to bed. And typically my workday ended pretty late in the evening. So sound is what you're going to hear. And many people have told me, yeah, I heard that, but I didn't know if I should pay attention to it. Trust me, pay attention. Then the next step might be touch, where you will actually feel something. And touch can come in many, many ways. I can remember one of the most touching things that happened to me was the fact that I was sitting on the couch one day shortly after my first corgi passed away. He had to be put to sleep because he had stomach cancer. There was no surgery that was going to help him. And what happened was that, or I should say something happened that caused me to sit on the couch and cry and cry and cry. And all of a sudden, I could feel his little tongue licking my cheek. And I know that many other people who have had pets that they are very close to, very fond of, will say the same thing, that their pet comes in to comfort them when they are reliving something or living through something that is extremely stressful. So I really thank my first little corgi for doing that, because I know it was an immediate source of comfort to me. Then what happens is you may taste something, and in tasting it, what you will know is a further, it gives you a kind of a closer clue as to what is going on with the person that you're working with. Because effectively, when you taste something, it might be mercury that you're tasting, it might be copper, it might be zinc, it might be lead, it might be a sour taste, and then you know that there's something wrong with the digestive tract, or that in the case of tasting minerals, that the person is low on this particular mineral and needs to be checked for it. So effectively, honor that when you get the taste coming through you. And eventually, you end up in a place of knowing. You know that you know, you don't know how you know, but you know. And effectively, that's the place where you are completely connected to the divine. And you have an absolute, complete confidence in what you state to the other person about their condition, about their what you have seen for them, what you have felt for them, and you know that I know in my case, the way I ask to be connected to my clients is through their higher self, through God, to my higher self, through my personality self. Because my intent is to be the clearest channel that I can be for my clients. And when you get to a place of knowing, you can just rest on comfortably in the knowledge of what's coming through you. So that's the place ultimately that you want to be. Okay. Now the next part that I want to cover is, where is your intuitive sense found? And when I asked my guides, when I was composing this as a class to begin with, the first thing that came up with, of course, was the higher self is found in the crown chakra. Now, the higher self is that part of you that what is connected to you, your personality self, this part of you that you see in the mirror, and God. So it never has left God, but it's also never leaves you. You're always connected to your divine self. Whether you know it or not, really doesn't matter. Whether you acknowledge it or not, doesn't matter. Because it's just something that is. So effectively, just understand that you all times connected to your divine self. Your job on planet Earth is to increase your awareness of it. And as your awareness of your connection to your divine self, and so many other points in your crown open up. The points, the virtue, mercy, kindness, those are just a few. They're the points in your crown that are open and available to you so that you can become the best version of yourself. The next place that the next chakra that the gut instinct, the sixth sense, is found is in the brow chakra. This is what is known as your third eye. Effectively, the third eye can be shut or can be open. The more you work at opening it, the more success you're going to have with this. I cover many ways. I'll give you about 7 exercises before this is over with how to work with your third eye, and how to work with your crown chakra, how to work to open your self up to intuition. The next place that the gut instinct is found in is your physical body. You've heard people say, well, my hair just stood on end. Or, oh my God, I got major tingles when you said that. They had a physical sensation go through them. This is exactly right. This is exactly what is happening. And the sensations, these feelings, these sensations are absolutely going through you to then alert you to the message that Spirit wants you to know. So please pay attention to your physical body. Then the next place, and we will talk about this in depth in another class, is your subtle bodies. Your subtle bodies are related to your chakras. Your chakras are spinning wheels of light that are effectively energy centers in your body. Some people have the gift of being able to look at a person and see the chakras with their physical eyes. I can see them in my mind's eye. I can't see them with my physical eyes, but I can see many times parts of the aura of the person across the table from me, especially if they're against a very neutral background. So the subtle bodies are all tuned into each other through a communication grid, and they all talk to each other, and they all have a function, and their function is communication. So, like I said, we will go into depth on that at a later Facebook Live. The next place is this is again one of the chakras. This is the solar plexus. This is your third chakra. This is where your gut instinct lives. And I know that at times when I have had, when I've been really tuned in, I could feel as if somebody had punched me, physically punched me in the solar plexus. That was the visceral reaction that I had from from what I was reacting to, and it could have been something very important, and they obviously, my guides did not want me to miss the impact of that. Does that mean I paid attention every time? Absolutely not. But again, over the years, I've learned to pay attention to my gut instinct, and because the guidance is there for you, typically every single day, every single minute of your life. Like I said, it's your job to become tuned in to the awareness of it. All right. The next portion that I want to talk about to you is, what is the purpose of your intuition? Why do we have it? Why was it given to us? And one of the major purposes is for it to be a warning. I once saw a wonderful movie that was done by a gentleman in Australia. I can remember his first name. It's Bill. I cannot remember his last name. But he related a story about how he was driving, and he was going to the airport. He was running late, and he was very unhappy about the fact that there was so much stress in his life, and he needed to get through the intersection. The light was green, but the voice inside his head screamed at him and said, "Slow down." And the voice was so loud that he did what it commanded. And I know, in listening to the rest of his story, it was wonderful, because what he said was, as he slowed down, what happened was this 18-wheeler truck raced through the intersection, ran a red light, and he would have been in the middle of that. He would have actually perished had he not followed the instruction of that voice. And then what he has done is he spent probably 2 years of his life filming a movie. It's called Intuition. And so just to talk to other people, to see what they received, and how they reacted, and everything. I can go into other stories, but we've got so much to cover that I'm not going to. Just know that that's the number one reason for having the intuition, an expanded intuition.
Your followers may have questions, so do you want to ask them if they have any questions, so you can answer those?
Okay, and if you are listening, to this and do have any questions, please type them. You're so welcome to type them, and I'll certainly do my best to answer them. Thank you. Second is prophecy, that your gut instinct is telling you. And
Emily say, hi Alice. Emily though.
hi, Emily, welcome. Glad to have you on this broadcast. The gift of prophecy will come in to certain people stronger than others, but how you can practice with prophecy in a very simple manner is every time the phone rings and you don't have a caller ID, then you can go and try to predict who it is that's calling you. So effectively, please practice and see what you can do from that. The third reason that I have is that you, through your intuition, what you're doing is basically increasing your level of consciousness. You are expanding your awareness of who you are and what you're capable of, and you're also taking your healing abilities to another level. So that's extremely important. You're expanding your whole concept of self. Ego self versus spirit self. You're stepping into the divine self of who you are. Another reason for increasing your intuition is to help you reveal past lives. This gives you an entree into a whole new way of thinking. It gives you an entree into an arena that makes you feel, oh, I can now give an explanation to what has happened to you in the past, how it affects what you're feeling in the present. So, and technically, there is no such thing as a past life, because all lives, once you step outside of the third dimension, are being lived at the same time in the same place. But again, that's a story for another Facebook Live. So we're going to effectively carry that on into the future. And then, of course, the last reason that my guides felt was very, very important is that you connect to your divine self. The best part of who you are, the highest part of who you are, is your divine self. So you are going to need to increase your intuition so that you can be like I said earlier, the best possible version of who you are. I'm going to go over now the 7 steps of what you can do to increase your intuition, but I covered them in depth on an earlier Facebook Live. So if you go to, and I'm pretty sure it was either October or November's session, you will see it. But it's there. It's on YouTube, so you absolutely can find it. But in a kind of a summary of the 7 steps to open yourself up to psychic guidance is to, first of all, set your intent. Number 1, that your intent to increase your intuition, just like your intent to become a healer, to become a teacher of God, to write a novel, to write a children's story, to write poetry, to change jobs, to change careers. Your intent is the magnet that brings all this into being for you. So your intent is really the beauty that helps you set you on your path. Next step, I have 7 steps for this. Open yourself to this. Ask for it and be willing to receive it. When it comes in, don't question it. Do not doubt it. Capture it on paper and journal your experiences. The next step is practice receiving guidance. By asking for it every single day, by writing down what you hear, you will then be able to record and capture what it is that's being given to you. I can't tell you enough how important it is to practice, and practicing always is wonderful when it comes capturing your practices by doing it in writing is so important. The next step, and this is absolutely critical, is be acceptive of what you receive. Do not doubt it. It's the doubting that sets you back. Doubting is like, I get a hit, I doubt. So I go back to the starting point. I get a hit, I doubt. I go back to the starting point. So you're basically rocking in place. You're not really getting anywhere. So effectively, do not doubt what you get. If you walk away from one thing from this teaching, please remember that. Do not doubt. The next step, extremely important, be grateful. When you live in an attitude of gratitude, you also attract more things to be grateful for. This is the major teaching that Abraham Hicks brings forward, is send out what you want to receive. Your attitude of gratitude will constantly give you more things that you have then in your life that you can be grateful for. Sitting and going over all the things that are making you unhappy, making you ill, actually will, in my estimation, increase your illness and increase your unhappiness, because that's because you're drawing towards you what you're putting out. The next thing is expect it. This is not arrogance. This is your birthright. As a fellow human being on this planet, you have the right to expect to become the highest version of yourself. What is the purpose of our life here? Well, some people have a purpose to change the world. Some people have a purpose to bake the world's best cherry pie. Some people have a purpose just to enjoy. This is a resting life for them. So effectively, it doesn't really matter. Just know that as you increase your intuition, you are then also increasing your purpose on this planet. The last thing, and this is again so tied into the do not doubt. Trust what you get. Trust, trust, trust. If you need validation, get validation from your higher self. Do not expect to get validation from other people, because effectively this is between you and your God. This is between you and your divine self. This is between you and your higher self. So just trust and know that I know in the beginning when I was working with spirit and channeling, if there was a, I wanted to take every class that I came across, and obviously I couldn't. So if there was a class, a lecture, a book I was supposed to buy into or be a part of, I asked Spirit to send me 3 signs, and I said, always take the, I don't care how you send it to me. It could be through voice, it could be through looking on the paper, it could be through, something I pass by, it could be through a message on a license plate. Send me 3 signs because I wanted to just confirm from Spirit that this is what I was supposed to do. If I got 4 signs, it was like, boy, did that kind of smack me across the face and say, pay attention, this is important. But even 3 signs is what I asked for. So you can set up your own little technique of getting additional guidance from Spirit, and getting additional confirmation from Spirit that this is what you're supposed to do. Okay, where I want you to do, what I want you to do next is to take out a journal and record your intuitive hits. I mentioned that briefly when I said practice, but journaling is going to be your fastest way of remembering, because frankly you're going to forget. You're going to, life happens, things happen, new things will crowd into your life. So every single thing that you have that comes from Spirit is kind of going to get lost in the drift. So what I would like you to do is to take and make a number of journals for yourself. Again, when I started out with this, I had 4 major journals. I had a dream journal, and in my dream journal, I would write out all my dreams. And then I recognized that, okay, I wanted to get the meaning of the dreams, because some of the dreams, I'm not going to say they were terrifying. I never really had any nightmares, but they were confusing, and they didn't really seem to have a positive message, and that was annoying to me. So I felt, okay, I want to understand what these dreams mean from a higher perspective. So I took a method where I wrote the story down first, then I took it apart scene by scene, and I would ask a question about the scene. And when I asked the question, I put A for Alice, Alicia, and then ask my question, and then I'd listen for the answer, and I'd put G for guides. And so every answer had its own line, every question had its own line. I received interpretations of my dreams that were so completely different than what the dream would have meant to me, or what I thought it would have meant as just an observer of the dream, had I not asked for my guides to give me further clarification. So that's important. Next journal, synchronicities. The angels work so hard to get your attention. And the coincidences is a way that the angels get your attention. So I got to a point where I started writing out my synchronicities but so many were happening that all I could really say instead of writing them down is thank you, because I felt the comfort, the presence of these angelic beings, and I just felt them, their presence in my life, and I was so grateful for it. But anyway, so that's a synchronicity journal. So that's journal number 2. Journal number 3. This was my daily journal. And I found in my daily journal that I was taking down just maybe recording what had happened the day before, maybe recording anything that I wanted to accomplish for that day, because usually my daily journal is done first thing in the morning. And so I kind of like have it set, have it be part of setting the tone for the day for me. And then the last journal that I have, and I do this last thing at night, is my gratitude journal. And usually my gratitude journal is a very fancy journal. I just like to record my an attitude of gratitude in something that I consider very, very pretty. And I'm very fortunate because people at times have given me lovely journals. And I usually put those aside as a gratitude journal. And I list at least 5 things every night that I'm grateful for. So I don't have an evening journal. I feel my morning journal kind of takes the place of the evening journal. Some people love to write in the evening. Some people love to write in the middle of the night. Some people love to write first thing in the morning. Write when you know you can continue to give the time to spirit. But effectively, just do it every single day, especially in the beginning. I try as best as I can to write at the same time every day. And then, of course, I said it 3 times now, the key is every day. Don't think that if you just record things once in a while that this is going to be sufficient. Every day, even if you give it 5 minutes attention. And what I also have found out, that if I choose the same place, it's almost as if my guides, the angelic team, are there waiting for me and are effectively then willing to work within what it is that I need to know that's really bugging me in the moment, and where I have to go with my life. So, and there is one thing that this is a peculiarity of mine. This may work for you. It may be something you can relate to. I like to put down the date and the time. And so effectively, every single time I sat down to journal, then I always knew when I was writing. Was it in the middle of the night? Was it in the middle of the afternoon? Was it first thing in the morning? I do know that when I received all of the messages from Spirit, when Spirit was working with me, I was journaling on either the computer, where I went directly to the computer, or I was journaling on yellow pads. That is how my book came into being. Own Your Power, Day by Day, started out as nothing more than channeling the messages from Spirit. The beauty of what's in here is it fits today's lifestyle so perfectly, because yes, it's 750 odd pages, but you only have to read 1 page, 2 pages, or at maximum 3 pages a day. So on the average of about 1.5 pages a day to get the message. And the message is my journey on how I cleared emotional, mental, and spiritual blockages to becoming my higher self. So effectively, I know, and this I credit one of my lovely clients who is coming in Sunday for Reiki training, but she gave me the tribute on Amazon that I absolutely adore, and it says, "This book speaks to my soul." I love this book, and I thank you for that. I also just want to share with you in the remaining time the developing your intuition through these additional practices, because these practices are, again, what is going to help you. And the first practice is meditation. And again, meditation is not something I'm fond of because I am such a busy person. And so it really, I have to force myself to do it. I haven't really come to the place where I can honestly say that, oh, I so look forward to this. But then I have my own guides tell me something else that, and my teacher mentioned the same thing. She said, I live in a meditative state. And that's what I feel about myself, is that I live constantly feeling as if I am attached to my divine self, to my higher self, to God. So that I do not really feel I'm disconnected from God at any time, and I don't feel like I have to make a separate time for that. But nevertheless, I still would like to have a regular meditative practice that is the same every day, which I typically don't have. The next practice is aligning your chakras. This is not that difficult, and this can be done when you are literally just coming into consciousness first thing in the morning, because what you do is you simply stack your chakras starting at the root and stack them one on top of the other on your physical body. And interestingly enough, they almost always fit perfectly on top of one another, unless there's havoc with one of them and it's distorted. And so you may see it as much bigger, or you may see it as tangly kind of octopus type tentacles, or you just might see it differently rather than seeing it as a beautiful ball circulating. And of course, the colors are the colors of the rainbow. The root chakra is red, and then the solar sacral chakra is orange. The solar plexus is yellow. The heart chakra is green, and I always see it as both green overlaid with pink, because I always see both of the colors come in for the heart chakra. And the throat chakra is blue, and I see it as a cobalt blue. The brow chakra has typically been pictured as indigo. That's not the way it shows up in my mind. For whatever reason, I always see it as purple, and a purple tinged with white. And then the crown chakra, I basically see as white light tinged with a little bit of purple. So the crown and the third eye seem to kind of flow into each other. And so aligning your chakras, simply stacking them up grateful when I see that, because effectively it tells me that I've released negative thought forms. There's that have been stuck in the chakras. Okay, the next one is focusing on your third eye. This requires you simply looking at your third eye inside your mind's eye and looking at it and seeing if it's a slit, is it closed, is it partially open like the crescent of a moon, or is it fully opened like an eye is. And again, if you look for it, you will see it, because you do get what you ask for. So looking for that and checking in to see what your third eye looks like after certain other exercises also helps. And that, because you kind of see the state of where your third eye is. The next thing is music, either playing it or listening to it. But there is one specific genre that will help you more than the others. Hard rock is not it. Jazz, to some, is the best, but it's predominantly classical music that will increase your intuition. Teachers know that it has a certain educational effect because they call it the Mozart effect. And so they also have recognized that their students benefit from having classical music played. If you are, my daughter did a wonderful, wonderful experiment with growing beans, and the only difference in her beans were the music that they were exposed to, that the beans were exposed to. And the ones that were exposed to classical music were like 5 times the length of the ones that were exposed to other music. The only one that came close to it was like a combination of light rock or jazz. But it wasn't anywhere with the vibrancy that the classical music had. The next is for you to draw or paint. You do go into an automatic meditative state when you draw and paint. So you have a beautiful way of meditating without you even practicing meditation, without you forcing yourself to do meditation, but drawing. And one of the things recently, occasionally I will have a autistic child or parent or guardian of an autistic child come in, and they will speak about the artistic abilities of the child. And the child can express themselves, herself, himself, through art where it cannot even express himself or herself verbally. And so art is available to help you become open to your intuitive guidance. The next is writing. You're practicing writing when you journal. So effectively just know that as you write, the words that are coming to my mind right now is several. One of the things that people will say is, well, everybody has a story, so everybody, can write something about themselves. And then my son was really cute because one day many years ago he said, "Yeah, Mom, that's true, but some stories are more compelling than others." So I understood that is true, but effectively, I feel that every single person has something terrific that they can write about. But even more importantly, every one of us has something that has happened to us that we do not understand. And I'm sure, at least in everything that I have worked with, the people I've worked with, the counseling I've done, a lot of times it borders on the extremely highly spiritual, even bordering on weird. But it doesn't matter. Every single thing is possible because the way that we are designed, the way that we are built as human beings, and the universe that we ascribe to is effectively now being brought forward. The knowledge of it is being brought forward in a different manner, and through the quantum mechanics, through quantum physics. Basically, the last show that I saw on PBS about the quantum area of existence is that everything we thought we knew is not so. So effectively, just know, as in my world, anything is possible. I truly believe that, and I feel my own life is a witness to that, and so I feel very blessed to be able to share these seminars with you. There's two more things, and I think I've probably got enough time to just quickly go over them because I've touched upon them lightly. Practice interpreting the signs and the symbols that come to you. And effectively, just like I told you about the dream journal, where I ask my guides to tell me what that portion of the dream meant, every single time something happens to me where I get like an animal cross my path, I immediately turn to Animal Speak by Ted Andrew. There's other books out there, but I found that Native American wisdom is the strongest in my lexicon to give me the message of what that animal means, or insect, or reptile, or whatever. And the last is working with sacred symbols such as mandalas or sacred geometry. I, again, will have a separate class just on sacred symbols and mandalas. Sacred geometry, the whole history behind it is magnificent. And so I want to thank you for joining me. I'm going to sign off now. Please get a copy of my book. It's available on Amazon. It's available through Balboa Press. It's available through Barnes & Noble. You do have to order it. If you're in the Virginia area, Sacred Circle has many copies. I have many copies, and you can reach me through my website, www.aliciajones.com. Thank you for joining me. God bless you.